Elite teacher training video in Virginia shows just how extreme is the left's warping of public schools and young minds. All you graduating teachers better break out the brown shirts and learn to goose step if you want jobs in this public school teaching or administration. I'm Dr. Duke, she's Katie, and this is the Dr. Duke Show. Jawohl. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dr. Duke Show, the only program that keeps you educated on the craziness impacting K-12 classrooms and college campuses around the world. Okay, and today we have, again, evidence submitted to the Daily Wire by a whistleblower teacher from Virginia Beach City Public Schools, VBCPS, that shows just the outrageous way that teachers are being forced to admit whatever political thing the trainers say. That these trainers are telling them that they're racist, that they're inherently racist, that they can never not be racist, that every time they talk to students or teach kids, they're projecting racism upon them, and all these teachers can do is agree. They must agree. They must roll over for this kind of stuff. It is dehumanizing. It is disgusting, and yet here we have more evidence of what they're doing if they're doing this to teachers. Imagine what they won't do to your kids.
Yeah, so it's a 22-minute video, and it's called Advancing Equity Through Continuous Reflection, self-assessment. With a video like that, I mean, clearly, you're going to learn so much.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars she's paid for doing this.
And hey, if you were not at the college level, but at the elementary, middle school, high school level, it was used to train the language arts teachers. So that's what you would have gotten. I'm sure you would have learned so much about it. And it was just used this fall. And again, 22 full minutes, but you don't have to watch the whole thing to know exactly what it is that they're doing. Just watch a little snippet of it.
One of the most freeing things that white people can do, or actually any human being on the planet could do right now, is to just say, of course I'm racist. Of course I'm racist. If you grew up in a house that spoke French and you, as a baby, just started laying in your crib, listening to people speak French over you, you wouldn't have to do anything to start gaining proficiency in the French language. You would just speak it because that's what's being spoken around you. Our society speaks racism. It has spoken racism since we were born. Of course you are racist.
Of course you're an idiot. This idea, of course you're racist. First of all, I got to give her credit. I don't think she meant to do that. She said anywhere in the world, the best thing you can do is say I'm racist. So she just admitted that black people in Africa, that Russians in Russia, that Asians in Asia, that Mexicans in Mexico, the whole world's racist. The whole world speaks racism, which means that very little clip you just said is racist. You are speaking to us in a racist way.
Right away, from the get-go, you hear the facilitator warn the teachers that, because this is training. Remember, they're doing a training, and it's a self-assessment, that this work may not be turnkey. In fact, it's not even intended to be. But it is our work. Anytime they bring in the Kumbaya, if you can put the Kumbaya soundtrack underneath anything that these people say, it's not right. She quickly reassures obviously the teachers who are probably sitting there going, what is going on right now? That equity starts in literacy. And then obviously talks about the language,
so in other words,
the wee French.
That's why we have to hijack an English course with race studies.
Yeah. But what's interesting is when you read about, you saw the video and all that, but the article that you look at by the Daily Wire, as we mentioned earlier, talks about how it's cultish. And all these, these trainings are all very cult-like. And the way, if you're able to watch the entire 22-minute video, you'll be able to see how they spin things and start making things seem to get your head to make you question your own values, and just little by little.
Well, as you just saw in that video, she's not telling you truth. She's just repeating herself. She's making nonsense statements. And of course you would.
It's that type of thing, saying that, of course this is what it is. They're laying the groundwork, greasing the skids on that. That's exactly how they get you.
It's like Charlie Manson must have talked to his followers, right? We're going to go kill some Hollywood celebrities. We can find a pregnant one. This is what we do. Can't you just see Squeaky Fromme? Excuse me, Charlie. Do we really have to do that for you? Yes, of course you do. Of course you do, Squeaky Fromme. Squeaky Fromme, of course you are. It gets even worse, right? Again, this is a Daily Wire piece that writes, the facilitator here attempts an amazing rhetorical sleight of hand. She offers a brand new definition of the word bias. Bias, she claims, is, quote, the idea that some ideas or people are better than others. Wait a second. Bias now is the recognition that some ideas are better than others. That makes you a bigot. For me to point out it's a dumb idea to pay her hundreds of thousands of dollars to address teachers, that makes me a bigot. If you are, take carefully what she just says. All ideas are the same. And if you think they're not, you're a bigot. Then I have one question for you. If all ideas must be the same, how can you argue that racism is bad without making yourself a bigot? If, as you say, bias is people who think some ideas are better than the others. And you're here telling us that not racism is better than racism.
At one point in the video, there's a male speaker. This is what got my attention throughout this entire thing. There's a male speaker, and it says, because there's this big debate about being not racist versus being anti-racist. Yeah. Okay, so they try to make a baseball analogy. So they like to say that being not racist is to bunting the ball in baseball, whereas being anti-racist is trying to hit a home run. So me being the person who loves baseball, specifically bunting was my game because I didn't have a lot of power, so I bunted the baseball. When you bunt the baseball, that's being a team player. That's doing things for the betterment of everyone around you. That's actually playing the small game, right? Being anti-racist is what they want you to do, is to hit that home run. That's kind of selfish. That may only get you one, whereas bunting the ball, being not racist, is also sacrificial to move the team. So would you rather bunt the ball and be a team player, or try and be the glorious all-star being the anti-racist in their home run situation here?
The fact that they're talking about literacy shows you how illiterate they are. She says bunting the ball. The man says bunting the ball versus trying to hit a home run. What would you rather have, a successful bunt or some guy who's out there every swing is trying to whiff it over trying to hit a home run? So their own language betrays them. If they were a little more literate and a lot less political, they would see that they haven't even mastered English yet.
Well, from the cults to the campus. See how I did that one? When I say private liberal arts college in Minnesota, well, you know what we're going to talk about. It's going to be nothing good, because Carleton College in Northfield, Minnesota, is requiring its faculty and its staff to attend not one time, not maybe once a semester, but every single month, attend anti-racism trainings. And of course, they have to segregate you by your skin color, because that's not racist.
Yeah, of course.
Anti-racism trainings separated by your skin color.
Katie, you hit on something very important.
Sorry.
Anti-racism actually means racism. Anti-racism means you have to be racist against whites to make your point.
And hit the home run. Now,
try.
And this is, of course, the reason we have to at little private liberal arts college, Carleton College in Northfield, Minnesota, we need to do this because 13 black students demanded so.
Well, there you go.
That's why. They had protests because of George Floyd, and 13 of them called themselves the Ujamaa Collective. They delivered a 10-page document, which is probably longer than any one of them ever wrote a college term paper. 10-page document to the college leadership called Our Demands. Our Demands. That's so original. Just Don't you
just love the engaging way, the back and forth that comes with our demands?
So what are said our demands? We, as black students at Carleton.
And by the way, that's all that matters. It doesn't matter if you're smart. Adjectives do not apply. Smart, relevant, capable. Just black.
Just black.
That's
students.
like the uber adjective that you're not allowed to collect, to question in any way, shape, or form. So now we know that they are black students. Everybody, pay attention. You're about to be schooled. Nothing that follows can in any way, shape, or form be wrong. Go ahead, Kate.
I'm just imagining them all going, black students. Psh,
out of the
we,
way.
as
Out of the
black
way.
students at Carleton College, desire to see our institution take swift, clear, and forceful action on issues that affect the mortality of black people and the well-being of black students at Carleton College.
And that's, you're talking tens of thousands of dollars a year. That place ain't cheap, baby.
I should look it up. I will make sure to look up how much. Anyway, it's
one of the elite private liberal arts colleges. Very expensive.
Here's the deal. The letter states that the students, the faculty, the staff, everyone basically at Carleton College had addressed and discussed the George Floyd situation as being heinous. Like, everyone acknowledged it. No one was out there going, woo, George Floyd, and like celebrating what happened. No one was doing it. They say, nevertheless, that's their word, nevertheless, the Ujamaa Collective insisted there also needs to be a recognition that black students at Carleton are not always made to feel safe, supported, or equal to their peers.
How?
How can you do that?
Because black. There's the adjective. We're black, which means we, under no circumstances are we ever treated fairly. Ever.
And just fact check here, I looked it up. Carleton College, $57,000.
$57K.
And so...
Quarter a mil for 4 years.
I mean, since, it's our demands, what are some of the other ones? They demanded they receive financial compensation.
Yeah, there you go.
Because black students bear the burden of promoting and addressing issues facing the black community, receiving no material support from the college. All right.
Wait. You're telling me the Carleton College, up until these 13 brilliant children decided to make them aware, they have no outreach to black students? I'm pretty sure the fact that the 13 of you are there is their outreach to black people. But no. In typical, what's this generation called?
Right now, the ones in college are what, Gen Z, or like the Gen iPods, basically. iGen.
Typical iGen.
Gen
right?
Z, iGen,
History
whatever.
begins the minute you show up on campus. I guarantee you, Carleton is as woke a college as there is in this country. Mm-hmm. And that if you look at their bylaws, you look at their advertising, you look at their course descriptions, you will find that they were way woke before you 13 precious little people came back here. It's almost like a bad spoof on we're coming to America, right?
They have a second one coming out.
Ujamaa, in their yellow satin robes, they arrive on the College of Carleton for their palaces in Africa.
Such a good movie.
They realize that until we got here, there was no recognition of black people anywhere. We must teach them black. Can't you just see Arsenio Hall in this?
We must.
The Ujamaa, right? The Ujamaa.
Anywho, as a former college student in many colleges I've represented, I would, as the left-handed representative, would receive financial compensation because I, the left-handed student, bear the burden of trying to write in these college desks as a left-handed when they only have right-handed college desks. I feel this burden on my community of left-handed people I have to represent them, and I get no material support from the college. It's as stupid as that. That's how stupid this is.
And I, as somebody who has safety issues, because that's what college is all about. Don't let them fool you. College is not about education. It's not about working hard. It's not about getting a degree. College, as we learned from these kids for the last 5 years, we've heard from all the little kiddies on college. The purpose of college is safety.
Feelings.
And I won't feel safe unless you give me money. Give me money. Money. What better way to make me feel safe than money? Give me money. Give me your money, Carleton College, and we'll feel safe. I mean, they're little mini Al Sharptons, shaking, holding the chancellor of this idiot school upside down by his heels and shaking his lunch money out of his pocket, all because they're, adjective, black.
From Carleton College, we're going to skip over Wisconsin, skip over Lake Michigan, and land at Michigan State University, which is having a conference right now called the Spring Conference on Teaching, Learning, and Student Success. With a name like that, sounds pretty great until you actually read about what their presentations are going to be all about. They include titles such as Crip methodologies in feminist theory as anti-racist pedagogy. Just throw as many woke terms in there, and it's woke soup.
It's woke soup.
It's woke soup. And they also have trauma-informed teaching strategies, because you need to be trauma-informed.
Trauma. Yeah, being non-white on a college campus is trauma.
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 So we should be informed. And of course, they also may be segregating out their little sessions for safety.
How do you fix trauma of white people? Segregation.
The website contains a section on what's new at the conference this year. Segregating. Previously, they actually revised the website. So if you look at it, it doesn't include what they're actually doing. But of course, we got screenshots from before they revised it. So their first bullet point on the list was actually for affinity groups for conversation within identity groups. I like how it rhymes. Affinity groups with identity groups. And of course, it says, the description. Affinity or caucus groups provide spaces for people to work within their own identity groups. To advance racial equity, there is work for white people and people of color to do separately and together.
Yeah, the white people work is writing checks.
Sit
down, whitey, and write a check. We'll take your check, even if you've got the Ku Klux Klan as your book picture. Mm-hmm. You got a picture of yourself in a hood. We will still as horrible as the Klan is, we will still cash that check.
We will.
Because
Cha-ching.
Segregation.
Now, here's my question to it is, we're talking about identity groups.
Yes.
It didn't say racial identity groups. It just said identity groups. But automatically, race is first.
Of course.
So here's the question though. In the whole intersectionality hierarchy ladder, I thought sexuality or sexualization, whatever, which one do you put first? Is it I'm an LGBTQ person, or is it I'm a black person, or is it this is where their hierarchy goes bananas because you can't pick out which one ranks where.
How about this? There will be an affinity group for white folks, FOLX.
Oh, gotta love that.
So now I'm hip. Because apparently whenever you add an X to anything, like Latin X, whenever you add an X to anything, you're suddenly woke. So now white people is spelled FOLX. We've done our heavy lifting, right?
We're done.
We are done. We have reparated.
We have
segregated and reparated.
Well, I think you'll be attending the white folks group
Folk
then.
with an X. Hey, put an X after the end of my name, and all of a sudden, I'm like Malcolm. Right?
Or you could be Ibram X. Kendi.
You
could be. He's the new one. He's the new
white
one.
Folks, and suddenly I'm jive talking. The Bee Gees. The first black group I ever listened to was the Bee Gees. You should be jive talking, telling me lies. Jive talking, you wear a disguise. See,
okay,
I
learned
learned black music very early, and the Bee Gees were among them. It stands for Brothers G, right? Jive talking.
So here's the deal,
no
everyone.
lies.
You're incorrect. Number one,
I used to have hair
the
like
Bee
Maurice.
Gees, the Brothers Gibb,
Andy?
consisting of Barry and the twins Morris and Robin. Andy was much younger. They are my all-time favorite musical group.
So you got good. They're Motown.
I know it.
Motown.
No, I know everything pretty much there is to know
I'm
about
sorry.
them.
You can't hit
and
those.
you cannot mess them up for me.
You can't hit those falsettos unless you're black. I'm not buying it. It is time for some real education with Nikolai Gogol, the great Russian novelist, born about 1809, died about 1852. It was a great book that he wrote, kind of a different book for him to have written, called Taras Bulba, which is a beautiful, sweeping account of life on the plain for the Cossacks, actually made into a movie starring Yul Brynner. Whenever there was a Cossack that you needed, or a Siam king, it was always Yul Brynner. Anyway, Nikolai Gogol Week on the Dr. Duke Show, where we look at this really influential writer who inspired writers like Dostoevsky. So take a look at our quote for the day from Nikolai Gogol. So many times already, though guided by a sense come down from heaven, they have managed to waver and go astray, have managed in broad daylight to get again into impassable wilderness, have managed again to blow a blinding fog into each other's eyes, and dragging themselves after marsh lights, have managed finally to reach the abyss, only to ask one another in horror, where is the way out? Where is the path? And what a wonderful description of how a country, a city, an individual gets lost, right? So many times already, though guided by a sense come down from heaven, we should know God gave us enough common sense to avoid what is going to destroy and level. Somehow, in spite of that, go back to the quote, we have managed to waver and go astray. We know what communism is. We know what socialism is. We have seen it. We have common sense given to us by God. We have history to pay attention to. But nevertheless, we managed to waver and go astray. Having managed in broad daylight of truth and reality to get again into an impassable wilderness of self-destruction, we have managed again to blow a blinding fog into each other's eyes and dragged ourselves after marsh lights. We have managed finally to reach the abyss of stupidity, only to ask one another in horror, how did we get here? Thank you, Nikolai Gogol. I don't think anyone's listening.
What? All right, those are the stories for today. If you have a question for us about the Bee Gees especially, feel free to drop in the mailbag by emailing askduke@fpeusa.org. And if you enjoy our content, please consider joining the Patriot Club. Your one-time $99 tax-deductible donation allows Duke and me to keep bringing you these stories every day. Simply visit patriotclub.us to get signed up. That's patriotclub.us. And as a little thank you, we will send you our signature tumbler.
If you go to freedomproject.com, you can read our petition to get the Bee Gees elected into the Motown Hall of Fame. Boy, that is one group who is not ever getting the props they deserve. What a great African-American band they are. And that's going to do it for our show. For Freedom Project, I'm Dr. Duke. She's Katie. Until next time, tragedy, my friends.